Good morning. Namaste to each of you. Thank you for joining me this morning to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. Let's just take a few moments to become present. Find a nice, comfortable seated position where your spine, the back of your neck can sit nice and straight and tall, opening up your chest, your diaphragm, and your heart. Gently close your eyes and soften your thoughts. Soften your eyes. Soften your shoulders. Soften your heart. Observe your breath as it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of being present, returning to that awareness again and again. You may open your eyes now. For this morning's intention, you may think of a positive word or phrase to have with you on your mat and perhaps carry with you throughout the day. This morning's intention I'd like to talk about is the third Niyama. And again, the Niyamas are how you interact with yourself. And the third Niyama is Tapas, T-A-P-A-S, which is short. The condensed version is self-discipline. Tap, the T-A-P part, comes from the Sanskrit word to heat or burn. Think of tapas as performing a controlled burn, bringing you down to your essence, so your new growth will allow you to thrive in a new and more healthy way. A transformation, so to speak. For tapas in your practice, it is your willpower and your passion, in your discipline and your determination that keeps that fire in your belly burning. Tapas self-discipline is actually probably the hardest of the niyamas for me, and maybe most of us. For me, getting on the mat can be hard. To stop playing my online games like Wordle and Solitaire is really, really hard. I wish I had more self-discipline in that regard. But as Plato said, for a man to conquer himself, this is the for a man to conquer himself, this is the first and noblest of all victories. So I will keep Plato's words in mind when I can't seem to hit the off button for my games. So in the vein of victory, for this morning's pranayama, I'd like to, as we always do every week, but talk about the Ujjayi breath again. Ujjayi actually is Sanskrit for victorious breath, even though we often call it ocean breath because of the sound, that Darth Vader inhale, deep inhale, back of your throat, inhale, exhale. But I read something this week it's from the National Center on Health, Physical Activity, and Disability, it said that Ujjayi breathing may improve your concentration, release tension throughout the body, regulate heating and cooling of the body, warming the core from the inside. And of course, we always know Ujjayi breath as the soundtrack of our yoga practice. We listen to it as a gateway to listening to our body. So actually, we're going to practice the Ujjayi breath once we get our asana practice going. But to just maybe do a quick review, it's inhaling with your mouth shut, inhaling deeply through your nose, but making that inhale go through into the back of your throat, and then exhaling back through the back of your throat. So it's kind of a Darth Vader sound. Which is where it gets that ocean sound label as well. And again, we pay attention to that so that we know if that sound isn't a strong and steady sound, that we need to make a little bit of an adjustment in our poses. So on to our meditation. Our meditation this morning, just think about maybe something that you would like to have a little bit more self-discipline, self-control over, that you could be victorious, conquer yourself and be victorious over. And I'm going to introduce, actually, we've had this mudra before. It's Rudra Mudra, Rudra Mudra. So Rudra and Mudra, Mudra. So Rudra Mudra. And that activates the Solar Plexus Chakra, which is associated with personal transformation and power. So that self-control there. And to do that, you take your thumb, your index finger, and your ring finger, and you touch those three together, and your middle and pinky fingers are extended. So that's the Rudra Mudra. So let's just take a few moments for meditation. And again, if you want to think about something in your life, I know I'm going to be doing the video game thing. You can choose whatever works for you. And we'll just take a few moments to be mindful of trying to be more disciplined in that. You may open your eyes now. I mentioned the solar plexus, and that is, according to the chakra system, is where your power comes from, your emotional and energetic power comes from. And it sits between your belly button and your breastbone. So it's here. And today we're going to do a lot of poses that work on your core. And there's a lot of mention of core in yoga. You know, strengthening your core actually has a lot of benefits to the rest of your body, especially if you have lower back pain. And the core actually goes from your pelvic area on up to your breastbone. So the solar plexus is a good portion of that. And that's where that self-control and self-discipline comes from. And even though tapas does translate to self-discipline, I always think of being sent to the principal's office when you use the word discipline. So I think of it more in terms of trying to form better habits, you know, just being, getting into a routine, a control that is habitual, better habits, basically. So whichever word, I know it's semantics, but whatever word works for you better, that's great. But today we're going to do a lot of core, which will energize that solar plexus area, which has that that emotional and control. It really just kind of powers your whole system. That's where that term fire in your belly comes from. You know, you get that passion going. So let's start with our sun breath. So bringing your fingertips to the mat. Inhale, lifting the arms up on a deep inhale, employing your Ujjayi breath. Make that sound as loud as you want, and then exhaling. Doing your best Darth Vader imitation. And I just find it really nice that, you know, the Western medicine, national health organizations, WebMD, all those are starting to put into their websites things of yoga, you know, like the Ujjayi breath and other breathing techniques. It's to me, that actually is what I fell in love with about yoga first. The poses are probably third in line behind the yamas and the niyamas and breathing techniques. So big inhale, lifting your hands up over your head, and then we're going to twist to the left and bring our hands down to the left side of the mat. Right hand lands on your left knee, left hand lands right behind your hip bones. And then inhale, sweeping up, overhead, and then big exhale coming down on the right side where your left hand lands on your right knee, your right hand lands behind your hips. Inhale, come back up. Sweep over, nice controlled flow, and bring your hands down on the exhale. Inhale, lifting up. Sweep over to the right. Big exhale, bringing your hands down. Listen to your Ujjayi breath as you inhale up, sweeping up over to the left and coming back down. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, sweeping down. Inhale, sweep up. Turning to the left, exhale, coming down, and then we return back to center. Placing our fingertips on the mat and do some side stretches here. We're going to keep your right fingertips on the mat and lift your left arm up and have it along your left ear. And I'm going to bend the right elbow and bring the left hand over to the right side of the mat. And just listen to that Ujjayi breath. My breath just stopped, so I have to kind of engage it. Listen for that sound. And then inhale, come back up. And we'll come over to the other side. Left fingertips go down on the mat. Right arm comes up alongside your ear. Bend your left elbow toward the mat and tipping your torso over to the left, your hand over to the left. And again, my breath just stopped, so I gotta start the engines again with the Ujjayi breath. Inhale, come back up. We'll do one more on each side. So bring your right fingertips down to the mat. Left arm comes up alongside your ear. Right elbow bends toward the mat. Left hand goes over to the right. Ujjayi breath. And come back up. And one last time over to the left. Left fingertips come down, right arm comes up. Left elbow makes its way toward the mat as you tip to the left, right hand reaching over to the left. And then come back to center. We're going to roll down on the mat. You can roll down express method, tucking your hands under your knees and just scooting back, or one vertebrae at a time, extending your hands out front. Come down, bring your knees to your chest, give them a nice gentle hug. Maybe rock back and forth, give your lower back a nice hug. We're going to do, as I mentioned, a lot of core poses, and it's important that you have your navel tucked to your spine and your lower back lowered as far down to the mat as you can. If, like in this pose, knees to chest, which is basically the upside down version of child's pose, if you feel that your lower back isn't quite snug on the mat, you may want to take a towel or a blanket and just tuck it under your hips a little bit to help bring that lower back down to the mat. Just kind of enough to help support your sit bones up higher so that your lower back around your waistline gets snug into the mat. And then we're going to take our interlaced fingers, wrap them around our left knee, and extend our right leg out at a 45-degree angle, toes pointing up to the sky. And then gently with control, lower your heel down to the mat. Once it touches, slowly with control, lift it back up to that 45-degree angle. And then reel it back in, knee to chest. We'll do that on the other side. Wrap your fingers around your right knee, extend your left leg out 45 degrees. Toes are both flexed, pointing up to the sky. Check in on your lower back. See if it's supported by the mat. And then lower your legs slowly down. When your heel touches the mat, you just slowly, with control, raise it back up. And then reel it back in, knees to chest. And we'll do that again on both sides. So wrap your hands around your left knee, extend your right leg out. Toes are flexed, pointing to the sky. Lower your right heel down to the mat. And then hit the mat and lift slowly with control back up. 45 degrees, and bring that knee back to the chest. And one last time with the other leg, extend your left leg fully. Toes are flexed. Lower back is snug on the mat. Lowering it down to the mat. Once your heel touches, then slowly with control, lift it back up again. And bring that knee back to your chest. Then we're going to bring our feet into, or legs into a position where, as if we're seated in a chair. So our knees are over our hips at this point. We can get our legs, our lower part of our leg perpendicular with the floor. You can keep your knees together on this, and your toes are flexed up to the sky. Arms come alongside you with your palms facing down on the mat to support you. And then we're just going to shift our knees a little bit down toward the bottom of the mat. Just shift them maybe about 2 to 3 inches, so they're not right over your hips any longer. And then we're going to lower our right foot down, pointing our toes down to the mat. They may not touch the mat, but that's okay. You can keeping your knees connected together. So kind of scissoring your legs. Bring your right foot back up, and then bring your left foot down, pointing to the mat, and bring your left foot back up. And you should feel that in that core area, right below, below your breastbone to your pelvic area. So that's your core area that you should be feeling. So again, lowering the right foot, pointing it down toward the mat, lift it back up. Lower your left foot down toward the mat, pointing your toes, lift it back up. And one last time with the right foot, lowering it down, lifting it back up. And then with the left foot, lowering it down and lifting it back up. And then we're going to bring the knees back over the hips, and we'll send our foot up to the sky so that our sole is facing the sky. So we're going to inhale, lift the foot up, try to get it as straight as you can, and then bringing it back down. Lift the left foot up so the sole faces the sky, and bring that back down. And then we're going to lift both legs up and bring those back down. Lift your right foot up so the sole's facing the sky, and bring it back down. Lift the left foot up so the sole's facing the sky, and bring that back down. Then bring both feet up, and then back down. And one last time, right foot goes up, sole of your foot meets the sky, bringing it back down. Left foot goes up and comes back down, and both feet go up and come back down. So we're going to keep our legs as they are at 90-degree angle, as if you're seated in a chair. Feet are flexed, so your toes are pointing up to the sky. I'm going to bring our hands behind our head, And just where the top of your neck meets the crown, or not the crown, the base of your head. And that's going to be there as just support. You're not going to be using your hands to lift your head. You're going to use your chest and your chin to lift up. So inhale, lift up. Bringing your chest and chin as toward your legs, which probably isn't very far, as you can. And then bring it back down again. So inhale. Actually, probably exhale works better. It's hard when you're talking to figure out which way you're going with your breath. And then back down. Again, just double check that you're not pulling your head up. You're lifting with your chest and your chin up. Your head is just being supported by your hands. And then back down. One last time, lift your chest and your chin up. You should feel that in your core area. And then lower back down. Then we're going to lift our chest and chin up. We're going to tilt our elbow over to our left knee, our right elbow to left knee, extending our right leg fully out. And then bring everything back down so the legs come back to the seated position and your back is on the ground. And double check again that your lower back is connected to the mat. And then we're going to bring our chest and chin up, twist so that our left elbow comes to our right knee and our left leg gets extended. And then return back to the original position. We'll do that a couple more times. So lift chest, chin up, right elbow to left knee, extending the right leg 45 degrees, and then come back. Take a deep inhale and exhale. Lift the chin and chest up. Left elbow goes to right knee. Left leg gets extended, 45-degree angle, and then back. Inhale, lift chest up. Right elbow to left knee. Extend your right leg. Slowly come back to original position. Inhale, lift your chin and chest up. Left knee to right leg, extending your left leg out. And then come back to your natural position. Then you put your feet back down now. And we're going to come up into tabletop. So you can either turn over to the side and get up to a tabletop, your hands and knees, or you can tuck your hands under your knees and do a roll to get up. So crossing your legs, knee over your legs, coming into the tabletop position. Wrists are right below your shoulders, knees are right below your hips. Fingers are splayed out. Weight is evenly distributed in both hands. Navel's tucked to the spine, create a nice flat back. We'll do a few cat-cows here. So exhaling, rounding the back, dropping the head and tailbone down. Inhale, lifting the head and tailbone up for cow. Exhale, rounding the back, dropping the head and tailbone down for cat. Inhale, lift the head up for cow. And just continue at your own pace. Listen for your Ujjayi breath. Make some nice deep throaty sounds as you connect your breath to your movements. And then come back to a neutral spine. Bringing your knees together, we're going to extend our right foot down to the bottom of the mat. And then bring the right foot over outside the left side of the mat. And then gently turn your head as if you're saying no to the left. And then send your gaze back to your right foot. And then turn your head back to center, bring your leg back to center. And we'll do that again with the same leg this time. So you can send our right leg again back to the bottom of the mat. Send it over to the left side of the mat. Turn our head to the left and send our gaze back to our foot. And then bring our foot back, bring our head back to neutral position. And one last time, do the same thing. Send your foot down to the bottom of the mat. Send it over to the left side, outside the mat. Send your gaze to your left or your right toes. And then we're going to take our right toes and keep them at the bottom of the mat. So you're going to bring them straight back, but they're at the bottom of the mat. And we're going to kickstand our left leg, left foot outside of the mat, and bring our weight toward our left wrist, modified plank pose. And we're going to do that with a leg lift. So your wrist is right below your shoulder. Your left knee is pivoted, so your left foot's kicked outside the mat. Right foot, right toes are at the bottom of the mat. We're going to sweep our hand up to the sky as we lift our leg up to about hip height. And then bring that hand and foot back down. We'll do this 2 more times. So again, inhale, sweeping the hand up, lifting our leg up. And exhale, bring everything back down. And one more time, sweeping our hand up to the sky, following it with your gaze if you can, lifting our right leg up. And then bring your right hand back down. Come back to tabletop. And we'll do what I call rear views. Again, so extend your left leg down to the bottom of the mat. Bring it on the outside, on the right side of the mat. Turn your head as if you were saying no to the right. And send your gaze back to your left foot. And bring that left foot back to center. Take a deep inhale, exhale. Send the left foot down to the bottom of the mat. Send it over to the right side of the mat, just outside the mat. Turn your head to the right gently. And send your gaze to the left foot. And then bring your left leg back to tabletop. And one last time, extend it down to the bottom of the mat. Take it over to the right side of the mat, just outside. Turn your head gently to the right and send your gaze down to your left foot. And then we're going to keep our left foot down at the bottom of the mat. Kickstand the right leg out, so it's outside the right side of the mat. Your right shoulder will be right above your right wrist. We're going to sweep our left hand up to the sky as we raise our left leg up to about hip height. And then bring it all back down. Sweeping 2 more times. So inhale, sweep your hand up as you lift your leg up. Sweep it back down. And then one last time, sweeping your hand up, sweeping your leg up. This is modified plank pose. So we're going to revisit this in a little bit. And then back down. Come back to tabletop. We're going to tuck our toes under, walk our hands back. Come up onto our tippy toe, our toes. Push down in our toes to come up into mountain pose. We'll just review the mountain essentials for good posture. Toes are facing the straight line of your mat. You open your toes, spread them as far apart as they can. Bring them back down to the mat, lifting your heels up. And then bring your heels back down. Really connect with the earth, with your mat. Your legs are nice and straight and strong. Knees have a gentle bend in them. Navel's tucked to the spine, your core area, and your solar plexus right here. Shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. Chin is tucked slightly toward your chest. Crown of your head is reaching up to the sky. We'll sweep our hands up and overhead. Big inhale. Exhale, forward fold, bending our knees, bringing our hands down to the mat. And just take a moment for a couple deep breaths, checking in, seeing if there's any tension. Send those nourishing breaths to that tension. Inhale, bring your hands up to your shins. Flatten out your back so your spine, back of your neck is a nice straight line. Sending your gaze down. And then exhale, sending the crown of your head down toward the floor. Inhale, sweeping your hands all the way up overhead. Big inhale. We're going to keep our hands up above us, coming up onto our toes. And then we're going to lower our hands and lower our heels down to the mat. And then we're going to sweep our hands back up, coming back up onto our toes. And do this with as much control as you can. And then sweep your hands back down, bringing your heels back down to the mat. Again, bring your hands up slowly, lifting your heels up off the ground slowly. So your toes are connected to the earth, arms are straight up. And then exhale, bringing your hands and your heels back down to earth. And one last time with control, lifting our hands up as we lift our heels up off the mat. Coming up onto our tippy toes. And lower our heels back down to the mat, sweeping our hands back down to the floor. Come all the way down, bending your knees to support your lower back. Inhale, bring your hands to your shins, flatten out your back, send your gaze down. Then exhale, lowering the crown of your head down toward the floor, to the mat. Inhale, sweep your hands from the floor all the way up overhead. Hands come together, and then the right hand comes to the right thigh. I'm going to slide it down toward the right knee for supported side stretch. Inhale, come back up. Both hands meet, left hand then comes down to the left thigh. Slide it down toward your left knee. Inhale, come back up. One more time for the right side. Right hand comes down, slide it down toward your knee. Inhale, come back up. And on the left hand to left thigh, slide it down to the left knee and come back up. Both hands overhead. Big inhale, exhale, bringing hands down to the mat, bending your knees. Inhale, come up to half forward fold, straightening out the back, the spine, the back of the neck. Exhale, lowering the crown of your head down toward the mat. Inhale, sweep your hands all the way up, overhead. And then we're going to send our hands out straight in front of us at shoulder height and go into chair pose. So I'll come to the side. Basically, we're just lowering our hips toward our ankles, bending deeply at the knees, bringing the tops of our thighs parallel to the mat. Navel's tucked to your spine, very important. Then inhale, bring your hands up overhead. Taking a big inhale. And then exhale, coming back down into chair. So we're going to lower our arms to shoulder height. Sending our hips down toward our ankles. Try to get your thighs parallel with the mat. Navel's tucked to the spine. Inhale, come back up. And one last time. Come down to chair pose. Big Ujjayi breath, exhaling. Find your Ujjayi breath as you stay controlled and still. And then inhale, come back up. Exhale, sending your hands all the way down to the mat, bending your knees. Inhale, half forward fold. Straightening out your back. Exhale, sending the crown of your head down toward the mat. Inhale, sweep your hands all the way up overhead. Hands come together. Hands come to heart center. And hands come to the back of your hips. Fingertips are pointing down. Your feet are hip width apart. Shoulders are nice and relaxed. Tucking your chin toward your chest. You can just let our shoulders relax back for supported back bend. And find your Ujjayi breath here. And then come back up. How's everyone doing? I'm going to start our next section. Bit of a sun salutation B. There's A, B, and C. And this is a little riff on sun salutation B. Again, sun, warming yourself up. Get that fire in your belly going. So we're going to inhale, sweep our hands up overhead. Come back into chair, so lowering our hands, our arms to shoulder height, back to chair. And then we're going to drop our hands to the mat. Inhale, bring our hands up to half forward fold, straightening out our back. Exhale, forward fold, bringing both hands to the mat, sending our feet both back to plank pose. So your wrists are right below your shoulders. Heels are pushing to the back of the mat. Navel's tucked to the spine. Again, very important for that core to be supported. And then gently lower chaturanga, knees, chest, chin, or knees, chest, chin. down to the mat. We're going to keep our fingertips under our shoulders. Lift up our chest and chin, pushing down gently in our hands, coming up to cobra. And then we tuck our toes under, come into downward dog. So you can keep your fingers nice and open, splayed open, index finger pointing to the top of the mat. Arms are straight and strong. Chest is reaching toward your thighs so that your hips extend upward. And knees are bent, or you could be pedaling, walking your dog. We're going to bring our left knee to our left elbow, pushing off with our right toes. It's a great core exercise. And then back, downward dog, pedal out. Inhale, bringing the left knee again to the left elbow. And then back to downward dog, pedal out. And then this third time, we're going to bring our left foot up to where our hands are, so that our hands are going to frame it. So inhale, bring your left foot all the way up. You may be able to need to just help it along. Coming into runner's lunge, your hands frame your front foot. Feel a nice stability, maybe lift your fingertips off the mat. Feel that you have a nice stable pose. And then we're going to lift our hands in one movement from the mat all the way up to the sky for high lunge. Knees bent over and sitting over your ankle. Have a bit of a curve in your back. Arms are kind of leaning back. And then bring our hands back down to the mat. We bring our foot back, come back into runner's lunge. And then here, you can either do the modified plank, bring your knees down to the mat, kickstand your left foot out, and do the modified plank that we did earlier. Or if you want, you can do that now. Or if you want, you can go back to plank and do a side plank. So you're in plank, lift your foot up, your right foot up, cross it over your left leg, lean into your left wrist, sweeping your right hand up to the sky, come into side plank. Finding my Ujjayi breath. And come back down. So we're going to lower back down to the mat, either either knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga. And slide our hands out to the front of the mat, coming into Sphinx pose. So our elbows are right below our shoulders. Your pelvis and hip bones are against the mat. Your tops of your feet are against the mat for a nice active pose. And I have a dad joke. Why are artists so good at self-control? Why are artists so good at self-control? Because they always know where to draw the line. Okay, and bring our hands under our shoulders, back to cobra. So again, lift your chest and your chin up, gently assisting with your hands. Tuck your toes under, come back up into downward dog. Walk your dog out for a moment. Then we're going to lift our left leg up for three-legged dog. So inhale, lifting the left leg up, straight back, supporting your hands and distributing your weight equally. And then bring that left foot up between your hands. You may again need to assist it. Coming back into runner's lunge. We're going to pivot our back foot so that it comes down to the mat. Pushing down to our front foot, we're going to come into warrior two. Take a moment to get comfortable in your warrior two. Knees over your ankles, so you should see your big toe a little bit. Back foot's nice and snug in the mat. Chest is open to the long side of the mat. Arms are at shoulder height. And then gently turn your head to look at your right fingertips, or left fingertips rather. And then we're going to bring our left arm down, coming into extended side angle, sweeping our right arm overhead, pointing to the top of the mat so we get that nice line of energy from our toes on up to our fingertips. And then bring our right hand down to the mat. And you may want to scoot a little bit, just get comfortable to bring your right, or pushing down in your left foot, lift your right foot off the mat and bring it so that it sits right next to your left foot. Forward fold, then inhale, sweeping your hands up overhead. And then hands come together. Palms come to heart center. And take a couple of deep breaths here, and we'll do that all on the other side. Again, we're going to inhale, sweep our hands up overhead. Arms are up, and then we're going to come to chair pose. So we're going to drop our arms to shoulder height. Hips come down toward our ankles. And then drop our hands down to the mat. Inhale, come up to half forward fold. Exhale, forward fold, bringing our hands to the mat. Extend your feet down to the bottom of the mat, coming into plank. Navel's tucked to the spine. Plank is probably one of the top three core poses. So then lower down, either knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga. Come into cobra pose, so your fingertips are right below your shoulders. Chin and chest lift up, gently assisted by your hands. Come into cobra. Tuck your toes under. Come up to downward dog. And walk out your dog here for a few moments. Inhale, bring your right knee to your right elbow, pushing off with your left toes. And then back again, walking out your dog. Inhale, bring that right knee to the right elbow. And then back again to downward dog. Walk out your dog. And the third one, we're going to bring the right foot up between the hands. So inhale, lift your right foot up. You may need to assist it. Have it framed by your hands. And then lift your hands up off the mat Feel the stability in your pose. And then we're going to one movement, sweep our hands up, overhead to high lunge. And then bring your hands back down to the mat. Bring your right foot to the back of the mat. Join your left. Back to plank. Navel's tucked to the spine as you lower down to the mat. And slide your hands out in front for Sphinx pose. Oops, I forgot one thing. You're gonna have to go back up. Sorry, back up to plank pose. This is where you can either do the modified plank by bringing your knee down, kicking your foot out, or side plank, lifting your left leg up and over your right foot. Have your right wrist below your right shoulder, and lifting your left arm up to the sky. And then back to plank. And now down to chaturanga and to Sphinx. Your elbows are right below your shoulders. Tops of your feet are snug into the mat. Legs are active. And one last joke. I was addicted to the hokey pokey, but I turned myself around. So bring your hands underneath your shoulders, elbows tucked to the side. Lift your chin and chest up, coming into cobra. Tuck your toes under, come up into downward dog. Pedal out here for a moment. Inhale, lift your right leg up and bring it all the way forward to be between your hands, coming into runner's lunge. Pivot your back foot down and push into your front foot, coming up to warrior two. Bring your knees over your right ankle, back foot snug in the mat, chest is open to the long side. Just really feel nice and safe and controlled here. And then gently turn your head to look at your right fingertips. Bring the forearm, right forearm down to the right thigh. Sweep your left hand overhead to the front of the mat so it is a nice straight line of energy from your toes up to your fingertips. And then bring your left hand back down to the mat. Push down to your front foot, lifting your back foot up, and bring your back foot to your front foot. Forward fold. Inhale, sweep your hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together, and palms come to heart center. And we'll wind down by doing our wide-legged squat. So pinky toes on the edges of the mat. Heels are tucked 45 degrees in. Hands come to heart center. Lower your hips down toward your ankles, bringing your torso between your legs, your elbows resting on the inner part of your knees. And you bring your hands in the Ujjayi pose, Ujjayi Mudra pose, down toward the mat. And then bring your seat down to the mat. And we'll roll down on the mat And do an express method. Ah. Knees come to the chest, give them a nice hug. And we bring our feet back down to the mat, so our feet are about hip width apart. Bring our arms out to the side about shoulder height. We do some somatic twists. So we're going to drop our knees to the right, like a windshield wiper. And as we do that, we're going to send our gaze gently over to the left. And our left palm will be facing up toward the sky, while our right palm is facing down toward the ground. Then we inhale, lifting our legs back up to straight. And then again, just keep going to the left, lowering down to the left as we gently turn our head over to the right, flipping our right hand so the palm's facing up to the sky, and flipping our left hand so the palm's facing down to the ground. So again, inhale, move, nice flow, move your legs up. Move your head gently from one side to the other, and flipping your hands. Left hand now is up to the sky, right hand's down to the ground. And then gently just keep that movement going in a nice flow. Exhaling when your knees come down to the ground, inhaling when they come back up to the sky. If you could get that nice rhythm going with your breath, your legs, your head, and your hand movements. Just a couple more, and we'll meet back in the middle. And when you're back in the middle, you slide your feet down and prepare for Savasana. Bringing your heels to the corners of the mat, letting your feet flop open, bringing your arms diagonally away from your body, palms facing up, shoulder blades nice and snug in the mat, shoulders relaxed. All your muscles, your bones are just slowly relaxing down into the mat. Take a big inhale and then relax on the exhale. See how deep you can relax. For today, I have a reading from the book Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. And in it, she talks about her father, teaching the indigenous people the history of their ways. And this is a quote from her father, actually. "The land gives us so many gifts. Fire is a way we can give back. In modern times, the public thinks fire is only destructive, but they've forgotten or simply never knew how people used fire as a creative force. The fire stick was like a paintbrush on the landscape. Touch it here in a small dab, and you've made a green meadow for elk. A light scatter there burns off the brush so the oaks make more acorns. Stipple it under the canopy and it thins the stand to prevent catastrophic fire. Draw the fire brush along the creek, and the next spring it's a thick stand of yellow willows. A wash over a grassy meadow turns it blue with camas. To make blueberries, let the paint dry for a few years and repeat. Our people were given the responsibility to use fire to make things beautiful and productive. It was our art and our science.